Growing up in New York City, I would often take the subway from my home in the Bronx to my stomping ground in Manhattan. Every stop on the subway would tell a different story, and I would always wonder what the lives of the people on the train must be like. When we stopped at that Ivy League, Columbia University, I would see those academic types with their heavy briefcases and those blazers with the elbow patches. When we got to Midtown, I would see the corporate types with their perfectly tailored pinstripe blue suits. And when we got to the theater district, I would see the actors and the dancers with their perfect posture. They were all somebody in a sea of nobody. I often wondered if it was external factors that led to their success. That's what I believed. And I asked myself, did they go to the right schools? Did they have the right pedigree? Who did they know that I didn't know? More importantly, what did they know that I haven't figured out yet? I never believed anybody wakes up in the morning aiming to be average. But all the signals that we receive are consciously and subconsciously telling us to aim for average. How often have you heard the words baseline, benchmark, class average, mean scores, all words that are telling us to aim for average? Even performance appraisals at work score us based on whether or not we fall above or below the mean. Average is fine, but I believe sometimes we want more than fine. We want to succeed. I've been obsessed with success ever since I can remember. I even studied it for my doctorate. I didn't just research success, I studied extreme success. I interviewed Nobel Prize winners, astronauts, Olympic and NBA champions. I figured if I could figure out what made them so successful, even if I missed my mark, I would still succeed. Like many of you, we've been trying all of these things. I've tried them too, right? All the trendy tips. Wake up at 5 a.m. Make your bed before you do anything else. Read for 8 hours a day because readers are leaders. I stuck to these like a strict diet. And like a diet, it didn't work. You cannot copy and paste someone else's life into your own. We've been trying all these random things, and that has caused a whole new group in the workplace. What's happened is that we are trying to copy other people's life. But if you're a night owl and you don't go to sleep until 3 o'clock in the morning, how are you going to wake up at 5 a.m. and be effective? If you have young kids to get to school, and then you're going off to work, and then you come home and you have to help them with their homework, how are you going to read for an hour a day, let alone 8? The truth is, you can't. So we need to stop copying other people's habits. What my decade of research has shown me is that a Nobel Prize winning scientist is just like that Olympic champion figure skater. And whether you went to space or in the NFL Hall of Fame, you are doing the same 4 things. One of the last questions that I ask Olympians when I interview them is if they can show me their medals. It's often in a safe, in a nightstand drawer, or if you're like the most decorated Winter Olympian Apollo Ono, for years it was in a brown paper bag in the sock drawer. Now, I thought that was odd. I don't know about you, but if I won an Olympic medal, I'd likely wear it to the supermarket. They explained to me it was never about the medal. That's a chapter in their lives, not the entire story. And as I thought about it, I realized that I don't know of a single Nobel Prize winner who quit doing science just because they won the Nobel. You see, these high achievers, they tapped into their intrinsic motivation. They found what they're good at and what they love to do. They told me they would do it for free if they could. They don't do it for the awards, rewards, promotions, or bonuses. They do it because they want to do it well, and they live for that challenge. They told me they can't not do it. Now, Peggy Whitson is a biochemist who worked at NASA and for years dreamed of becoming an astronaut. She applied and was rejected. She applied again and was rejected. It's a good thing that Dr. Peggy Whitson didn't give up, because ultimately she was accepted. And she went on to become the first female commander of the International Space Station, a role she held twice. She spent more days in space than any American astronaut, and ultimately went on to become NASA's chief astronaut. Now, even if going to space is not on your bucket list, there is something we can learn from Dr. Peggy Whitson's mindset. She never questioned if she would become an astronaut. Instead, she focused on how. She asked herself, it's the same question you can ask yourself when faced with a challenge. What is the strategy I haven't thought of yet? What do you have to lose? You have to fear not trying more than you fear failing. Neil Katyal argued 48 cases before the Supreme Court of the United States, more than any other minority lawyer. I found his preparation process fascinating. He does the same 3 things before every case. First, he prepares a binder that has the answer to every single possible question he might get asked. He walks up the steps of the Supreme Court, walks into the courtroom, and puts that binder on the table in front of him. In 48 cases, he's never once opened that binder. But the practice of putting that binder together prepares him for the case. Second, he holds multiple moot courts. These are simulated court environments where he can practice and refine his arguments. And finally, if you are Neil Katyal's children, the night before the opening arguments, your bedtime story becomes those opening arguments. Because you see, he said if a child can understand it, the court will understand it. The lesson here is, despite all of his experience, he doesn't just prepare. He over-prepares. He takes those techniques that made him who he is, and he constantly reinforces it. As they say in the military, train hard, fight easy. Now, the last element of success is the one that surprised me the most. You have probably heard of Bill Gates, Mark Cuban, Warren Buffett. They all read 3 to 8 hours a day. It's not reading that made them billionaires. It's opening their minds up to new knowledge, new ideas, new perspectives. You see, they do it by reading, sure, but what they're really able to do is connect dots that other people don't yet see, connect those ideas. Now, they do it by reading, but there are other ways that you can do it that don't require you to go to the formal classroom. You can listen to podcasts. You can read articles. You can watch TED Talks. Hopefully, you're learning something new here today. The point is, there's always more to learn. And by opening your minds up to hear it from anyone, not just those who are senior to you or who look like you, can really open your minds up to new knowledge. Average is fine. But sometimes we want more than fine. And these elements of success can help you thaw that frozen middle. Like you, I want average to be the floor, not the ceiling. So if you truly want to succeed, take a lesson from the High Achievers Playbook. Tap into your intrinsic motivation. When you're faced with a challenge, think of, what is the strategy I haven't thought of yet? Perfect your technique and become a lifelong learner. Success can be learned. And take a lesson from these high achievers and unlock your full potential. Forget about copying habits and instead focus on recalibrating your mindset. Thank you.